Right, part 19. We're going to get this Vespa running one way or another, and we're going to sort out the carb or vacuum line issue today, hopefully. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, well, as you know, yesterday's little test drive didn't go too well. We fitted the new vacuum unit on the bottom of the fuel tank, and one issue I did have is that when I actually look back at my previous videos, and the reason why I'd done that was because I was unsure of the connections at the bottom of the vacuum hose. Let me just show you what I mean. Now, as you know, this was the one I actually took off of the bottom of the fuel tank, and what it had when I got the bike, it had the fuel line connected to the bottom and the vacuum line connected to the top. So obviously, rule of thumb, I haven't got a manual on this, so that's the way I reconnected it back up, and that's the way we rode it down to the test station. We did get it started, it did run. Now anyway, so what I'm saying to you is that when I put the new one on and done that little blow test down it, I realised by looking online that other ones of these have the vacuum connected to the bottom and the fuel outlet coming to the top. So in other words, this line connects to the fuel tank, which allows the fuel to flow, and if you put a vacuum on this one, that's what should allow, when it sucks, should allow fuel to flow through there and out there to the carburetor. Well, we've actually got it fitted that way at the moment. We still do have an issue, and I'm of the belief that when I'm looking at the fuel line, although I could see fuel in the clear pipe entering into the carb when the engine was running, because this only operates, this vacuum, when the engine's running, that pipe was still not filling up fully with fuel, and I could see lots of air in there. So I still think it's a fuel starvation problem due to possibly the vacuum line having an issue between here and the inlet manifold, which provides the vacuum to open this actual tap up. Well, I've had people say that they think it's running too lean, too rich, blah blah blah, all did many different things. Also put the brass plate on the back of the carburetor. So first things I'm going to try first of all is to actually see if I can check this vacuum hose coming from the unit to the carburetor, and seeing if there is a problem with that causing the fuel restriction. It does feel like fuel restriction when you ride the bike, and what I'm going to do is check that first, and then possibly replace that 60 main jet back to the original 53 and start there. I looked online to try and find a diagram of what way the vacuum hose connects to the ET2. There's plenty of images of one of these with a vacuum line connected at the bottom, which I now believe is the case. But as I say, from when I got the bike, not having a manual or whatever, this was actually round the wrong way anyway. And of course I didn't know that. I just replaced like for like when I actually got the bike. So that was another anomaly. That's why it pays to have the right information. But I can't find a diagram of one of these online or in any video on YouTube. So hopefully now, but me producing this video will show people that I think for sure now that there is a problem with the vacuum line. Oh, I just got a taste of petrol in my mouth then. See you in a minute. Right, okay, so what we've actually got here, we've got these two pipes here. The black one connects onto there, that's the vacuum line, and this one here at the bottom is the fuel feed. So I'm going to disconnect both of them and actually remove them two pipes. I just want to take that off of there because I want to prove that this vacuum line is actually clear. You shouldn't get any fuel coming down that. Technically speaking, what should happen if I sucked on this pipe now? What should happen is it should allow fuel to flow. One other thing to look at as well is the auto choke mechanism on this. So that will be the one of the other things I do check once I get it removed. But as you can see, I'm just going to take this off. Easier said than done. Right, that's the fuel line off. I'm going to take them off the other end as well. Let me get this pipe out now. That's the two of these pipes there. One of these is the vacuum, as I said to you. Right, okay, this is the two lines I'm talking about. The black one being the vacuum line. Well, that's as clear as anything, so I know that that's not got a blockage. I thought that might have been blocked actually. Yeah, as you can see there, it's there's nothing really wrong with that line. It's not splitting anyway. Yep, that holds a vacuum, so there's no problem with that leaking. So I can rule that out. I was hoping it was going to be that. I'll just check the fuel line in case there is a blockage in the fuel line. I don't think there will be, but you never know. No, that's clear as anything. So the two things I was hoping it was going to be is proved not to be the case. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. So I'm going to leave that like that for a minute. What I could do actually is if I connect this vacuum pipe now back to the carb, I should see fuel flow if I suck on it. So I'm going to try that. So let's get that back out again. Or I'll get another bit of hose. I don't need to put that one back on. So I'm just going to connect this bit of red hose onto the bottom of the vacuum line there. Now what I'm going to do is suck on this hose and we should see fuel come out of the actual fuel nozzle. There we go. Look at that, look. So that works. So by sucking on that hose, fuel is able to run. So it definitely was connected up the wrong way at the start off. So I now know that between the fuel tap and there, everything is okay. Interesting. So what I'm going to do now then, as a result of now finding that out, I'm going to take the carb out. I'm going to take the auto choke mechanism out, which is there, and get this whole thing out and have a re-evaluate again and probably put that original jet back in. So that was interesting what we just found now. So anyone who's got one of these who doesn't know which way these connects up, the vacuum goes on the bottom, the fuel comes out at the top, and all I've done is literally just suck on that pipe. That opens up the diaphragm, and then you saw the fuel was flowing. So that's all I've done there. That's I've been the vacuum pump in this case. So when I kick the bike over, if I put my hand over that little nozzle on the carb where the vacuum line connects, I basically should hear a vacuum or feel a vacuum on here. So I'm probably going to try that now. So as you can probably see there, what I've done now, I've connected the vacuum line back up with this temporary hose, and I'm going to listen with this bit to my ear and maybe put my finger over there, and I should feel a vacuum pulling when I turn the engine over. So that's what I'm going to do now. I don't really need it to start, so I'm going to take the plug lead off for the moment. I'm going to take the plug out anyway because I want to see the colour of the plug, but all I want to do in this case is just to literally hear if this makes a noise sucking. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on my tongue. Right. If I put it on my tongue, I can feel it sucking, but it doesn't seem to be sucking very good. So that's how I've tested the vacuum. It has got a vacuum now, I can feel it. And what I could do also would be just to connect that to the vacuum line at the bottom and then watch and see if it spurts petrol out. Which it does. So it's got enough vacuum there. That's fine, I've just checked that. If I let you see that. Right, I'm hoping you can see that now. Get ready. Yep, there we go. Right, so basically I can rule out the vacuum system. That is operating correctly. I've just literally proved that. That's not a problem now. I'm now going to take the carb out. I'm just going to check the plug as well. I want to see what the colour of the plug is and possibly put the carb back to normal. In other words, put the normal jet back in and put that rear plate back on as well, and also make sure that the idling jets and all that are clean as well. So we basically proved that that is working fine now, that vacuum system. Anyway, see you in a minute. Well, to be honest with you, the plug doesn't look too bad a colour. It could be a little bit dark on the top, but it's definitely not sooty. So right, so we've got the carb back off now, and I'm going to start stripping it down. I'm going to take this automatic choke off as well, because there's a way of measuring that. Because in the normal position, the choke is actually on. So if it's not coming off, or this thing's not activating, then that could be a possible problem as well. So there's 2 screws that undo the side of that, or to get that off. Now it's just like a plunger, as you can see. Now what this should do, when you apply a voltage to here, a little bit of wax inside heats up, and you'll either find that shrink or increase in size. Basically you're looking for movement. So what you want to do is to take a measurement of this. Right, so that's probably 20 millimeters from the base of that gasket there to the point on the tip. So what I need to do now is to apply a voltage to this and hopefully see that change in size. You're looking for about a 5mm change in length on that. So I've got to apply 12 volts to this somehow. So it's very difficult to test this thing on the bike because you can only test it when the engine is running. These apparently work off AC voltage, and the way the bike generates AC voltage is from the alternator or when the engine's spinning, and that's going to take a few minutes obviously to change inside. So you can't just do it on the starter motor and try and watch it go out without the engine firing. So apparently you can do it with 12 volts. I'm not too sure yet. I'm going to have to try that in a minute. But first of all, I've got the ultrasonic cleaner here out now, so I'm just going to fill this with some hot water, put a bit of thinners in it, and strip the carb down, put the carb in there, and then we'll take it from there. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, okay then, my unit has got a heater in it, but I tend to boil a kettle. I find it's a lot quicker than using the internal heater. This isn't boiling water, it's probably 3/4 boiled in the kettle. Oh, okay, second lot of water. Just take it up to near enough the top. I like to get everything submerged if I can. Right, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to take that back in, see you in a minute. Right, now I'm just going to sort of, what I do, I'll put a bit of white spirit in there, or methylated spirits, just as a cutting agent. So I'm just going to sort of a splosh of that in there. And that's all I'm going to use as my cleaning solution. I'll just put the lid on that for a second just to keep the heat in while I strip the carb down. So let's do that now. As before, we're going to take the bottom of the carb off, because that's going to give us access to the jets. And I want to put that original 53 jet back in and start from there with regards to seeing how it runs. Right, now what I will do is I'm not going to put this through the ultrasonic cleaner, for the simple reason being is that the rubber gasket, I haven't got a replacement one at the moment, and it's all sitting nicely in its little groove there. Because if you put the rubber gasket in the container, what happens in the ultrasonic cleaner with the hot water, it really expands, and you have to wait until it shrinks down again before you can put it back in. So I'm going to leave that off. I know that's going to be clean anyway. So I'm going to remove the, let's get you nearer, just take that out there, and also remove the float itself and the little needle valve underneath as well. So got to remember that that's got to go back on. And here's the main jet that we changed, as you can probably remember. So let me just get a larger bladed screwdriver. I'm actually going to remove that again. And this one, as I said to you, is a 60, which I replaced it with. It might be getting too much fuel as well, so that's not going to go back in. Then we've got this little jet on the side there, which I never took out before, I don't think. I think that's a little primary jet. That's your main jet there. So let's take that out as well. And I've just blown through it, although I can see through it. And what I'm going to do now is to remove the mixture screw there as well. I'm just going to make sure that, so it's half, 1.5 turns out it was from fully in. So I'm just going to take that right out. It comes out with a little spring on it. So that's that. I'm going to leave the throttle stop in there. I don't think I really need to take that out. And everything else I'm going to leave as is and put this in the ultrasonic cleaner now, and let's see what it does. Right, so let's take the lid off. Very nice and warm in there. Now I like to put the little jets and stuff in a little cup, so let me go and get a little plastic cup. And I'll just put a bit of the fluid in it and literally just throw the small stuff in there. Little jets and that. Don't need to put the float in there, and the little pin, so I'll just let that float about in there, to be honest with you. And then I get the carb. Right, just put that in there, make sure it's all under. Oh, that water's really hot, so turn it on, and I like to put it on, just start off with a 5-minute blast. Right, so I'm going to probably leave that now for about 15 to 20 minutes. Come around, turn the carb around, do it again, then we'll blow it out with some compressed air, and then we'll start the reassembly. We'll put the old jet back in, and I may even put that old plate in if I can find it, the backing plate as well. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, okay, that's had about 20 minutes in it at the moment, so let's get the carb out. Now again, I don't want to hold it in my hand because it's red hot, so I've got to get a firm grip on it. And now with the airline, I'm going to blow out all the orifices. Right, okay, there we go. Get them off. So what we're left with is a perfectly clean carb now, and what I've also got in here is the other jet, the 53 jet, which I'm just going to drain that out of there for a moment. So hopefully my intention is to put this jet back in, and then we're starting back from standard. And also with the knowledge that we've cleaned all the ports out, we now know that the vacuum system is working correctly. The only thing we haven't checked yet, as I said, is the automatic choke, which we're going to do in a minute. So let me just start to reassemble this, blowing out the little jets and then putting them back in. I'm going to screw back in the mixture screw, and all I'll do is I'll screw this right the way in till it bottoms out like that, and then we'll take it out 1.5 turns. So it's half, 1, 1.5, and that's basically where it was when we started off. Now with these little plastic floats, I don't think you can really adjust the float height, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. With the metal floated body ones, you can actually bend open the little tang there and you'll get an adjustment for the float height, but these ones are not adjustable. The seat is important there to make sure that that is clean and free from wear. So that is the needle and the float back installed. So what I'm going to do now is to replace the float base. Again, that's all totally clean in there anyway, so I'm not going to disturb any of that. And again, don't go too mad, just nip them up. It's only a little plastic base. There we go. And then on the back of the carb is the little restrictor plate there, which has got quite a few holes in it anyway, so it may be true. I've heard some people say that on some mopeds it makes a difference when you've tuned the moped, and on some mopeds it's not made any difference whatsoever. So we're going to leave that back on for the moment No, and there's plenty of holes there. So we're going to leave that like that. Right, okay, so let's just have a recap of what we've done. We've looked at the petrol cap again, the petrol tap, the fuel tap with the vacuum diaphragm thing on the bottom of it. We've proved that that's actually working. We've proved that we've now connected that up the correct way, so that's okay. We've proved that we've got a vacuum coming from the vacuum hose off of the back of the carb when we turned the engine over, and that was enough vacuum to open that diaphragm to push fuel out. So we know that the vacuum system's working okay, so we can now rule that out. We've cleaned the car, we've put the jet back in, the main jet, which is the 53, which we know as what it comes with standard. We've cleaned it in the ultrasonic cleaner, so any little bits of crap that might have been inside this carb should now have been cleaned. We've blown it out with compressed air. We've also put the brass plate back on now. And the only thing we've got to check now is the automatic choke. Now, as I said to you before, this thing is in the choke fully on when the bike is stationary. In other words, when it's in its standard position. And this plunger, as you can see here, is actually all the way in. Now, what should happen is when we apply 12 volts to this, this picks up a 12 volt supply off of the alternator, which means that when the engine's turning, this only comes into play. So unless you can actually hold the engine, you've got to warm the bike up, say for 5, if you can start the bike, that is, start the bike up for 5 minutes, run it for 5 minutes, and then quickly take this off by undoing the 2 clamps there off that 2 screws that hold that onto the car. Quickly take it off and then note its position, and this brass thing here should be further out by about sort of 5 mil, half a centimetre. So that's what you're looking for, and then as it cools down, it should sink back into this original starting position. But failing that, we can't obviously start this at the moment. We could do, but we're not going to, because we've actually got the whole unit stripped down at the moment. And the other way to do it is to apply, you can put 12 volts AC or 12 volts DC onto these. Doesn't matter which way you have the connection. So the best way and easiest way to do it is to actually put 2 leads onto here, if you can, and connect it up to your moped battery, which is a 12 volt battery. Leave it for 5 minutes, and then you should see this thing alter in length. This should actually come out further by half a centimetre. So that's what we can probably do. It's a little bit tricky to do it on the bike, so we're going to try and do it now with the battery. Leave it connected for 5 minutes and see if this increases in size. Right, okay, so all I've done here literally is, that's the connector that plugs in. I've put one little clip on one terminal there, as you can see, on this way. Because they're too tight in there, the second terminal I've come in from the other way. I'm just touching that down there. So if I literally just rest that on there like that, on the battery there, as I say, it doesn't matter which way you you have these connected, just make sure they don't short out. So I'm going to connect these onto the battery now. One on there, and one on there, and we're looking for this thing to increase in length in about 5 minutes time. So I'm going to leave you here and let's see what happens. Right, so there you go. This feels nice and hot, so that shows it's been operating. By doing it this way, it's probably the easiest way to check one of these, to be honest with you. I know you can do it with a meter to check the ohms or whatever, but there's nothing physically better than actually seeing it go in the correct position. Now, as you can see there, it's come right out, so I'm happy that that's working. I can fit that back to the carb and plug everything back on, so I'm going to do that now. also checked the inlet rubber for any leaks or whatever. We don't appear to have any there. This is a 2-stroke feed pipe, which is full of 2-strokes, so I've just put that little screw in the end of it for the moment. So plunk that back on there and put that clip back on there. That's the other side of the choke holding bracket, and I did use that screw just to block off the oil way to save all the oil running out or dripping out of the actual fuel oil delivery pipe. So that's the reason why I've done that. Throttle slide. This only goes in one way, so make sure you put it in the right way. The long slot, as you can see here, faces this way because there's a little pin it slides down. That pushes back in there like that. Again, just nip it up. That means we've got the vacuum line which connects to here and the fuel line which connects to here. Right, so I'm going to put the vacuum line and the fuel line back on and back underneath here. The fuel line is the top one, as we know, or as we now know. I think there is back as it was now, as you can see. Now to put the airbox plate back in. Right, okay then, here we go again. All back to normal, hopefully. Key on. Not going to go too far because obviously we don't know how long this is going to last. Let it warm up for a bit first. I'm only doing about just under 30 at the moment. I'm barely touching the throttle. I'm just going to turn around here. Just turn around here. Again, I don't want to go too far at the moment. Well, there's no flat spot or anything so far. Bit boggy when I'm trying to give it full throttle. But that could be because the choke's still on, you see. Feels a bit restricted, to be honest with you. And that's bogging. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to let it warm up for a second. Now, what was happening there was go to give it throttle and it was bogging down a bit. Normally that's a sign that the mixture's a bit too rich, but I'm not too sure. We'll just let that throttle choke come off. Just reverse it and try again. Now, as soon as you give it throttle, it's bogging down. Bogging down as soon as you throttle it. We're only managing 25 now. So you throttle it, it bogs down, look. Right, okay. So we've still got issues. Right, okay, I've taken the little brass plate out now, behind the back of the carb. Let's see what this does. No, it's bogging down again. No, that's no good. Let's turn round. Nope. It won't rev up the rev range at all. But from a standstill it does, I can't work it out. You look, if I stop, it won't get up the rev range under load. So if I pull away, nope, don't want to know. And yet it'll do that. Very strange. Oh well. Right, probably the last thing I'm going to do today this is, and that's going to take the plug out and just see what colour, if any, that the plug is. So we've basically proved quite a few things that could have been the possible problem. Now see, to me that plug looks probably the right colour. It's a nice lot, sort of a medium to light brown, so that shows me that probably the mixture's going to be okay. There's no sort of sign of any white deposit on there where it could have been overheating, for example, and it's definitely not oily on the centre bit, so that leads me to believe mixture could be okay. So it's got me a little bit stumped at the moment, and I don't like being stumped. Again, one of the things as well is that I don't actually have the manual for this, and I can't seem to find a manual on it at all online, and I don't know whether or not the Haynes manual that would cover this model goes into specifics for this actual bike itself. So a lot of these scooter manuals tend to just cover a generic amount of models, and you've got to sort of try and pick and choose and guess. So anyway, that's what we've tried today, and I hope you can see we've illuminated a few things. We've illuminated the electric choke mechanism, and that's working correctly. We've illuminated the jet size, putting it back to a standard 53 instead of the 60. What else have we done? We've proved the vacuum lines are connected the right way around, and we're achieving vacuum, and we've seemed to have cured a problem there because it's now not cutting out anymore. And I'm sure we did have that as a problem earlier on, so that's not a problem. We've tried the bike with the brass plate removed and the brass plate put back in, and if anything, it was worse with the brass plate out with the 53 jet in. So what I'm tempted to do now is to put the 60 back in again. But what's confusing me is that normally when an engine bogs down, it's normally because it's too rich. And it doesn't appear to be running rich, so it just seems that there's some sort of restriction maybe. And that could be fuel, that could be air. But as I say, I've got the air filters pretty clean in it, to be honest with you. The air plate is now removed, so we should be getting full air. So what I might try is to try it with the 60 jet back in, see how we go then, because we did get it over just over 40 miles an hour with that in. Now we've cured the so-called problem with the cutting out. Now that was an issue, but we now sort of solved that problem. This is the last time. I've now put the 60 jet back in, and let's see what this does. Hoping that we can get some lack of flat spot now. So it's got the brass plate taken out and also the 60 jet back in. Right, full throttle, no flat spot. Zipping up to 30, easy. It's a lot quicker. Look at that, I'm up to 40 already. That's it, we touched it, hopefully. Hang on, just under 45. That was so quick. Well, for a moped anyway. Full throttle, no flat spot. Let's go around here. No flat spot. Acceleration, yep, pulling all the way through the rev range. Oh, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. Yeah. I think we've cured it. There's not a flat spot in sight. Yeah, that's it, we've cured it. How about that? I can safely say that we've done it. I wanted to give it a little run because I'm wanting that auto choke to come off. There we go, look. Yeah, that's it, we've cracked it, definitely. So it just shows you there must have been a problem with the vacuum, first of all, and maybe that carb clean. So removing the restrictor, back and front, like from the carb and from the exhaust, and the variator. This would have probably done about just over 30 top speed. We're up to 40 at the moment, as you can see. And we're going up a slight hill, and I'm going over 40. Throttling back, yeah, that's it. I'm safely secured that that is fixed. There we go. Happy days. Well, there we go, folks. That's the end of the saga now. We've sorted it out, and it's running absolutely perfectly now. And it revs right the way through the rev range. Even it doesn't bog down if you're at low speed and then give it the full throttle. It will just slowly build up. So that's our ideal, just what we're looking for. So just to recap, we've got a 60 main jet in now, and we've also got the remove that brass plate on the back of the inlet from the carburetor. We're running with a de-restricted exhaust now, and also we've removed the little washer from the variator, and it's definitely doing over 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour it looks like we was achieving there. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this segment of videos, and we'll see you again in the next video, and until then, bye for now.